Trajakala Jovi, Tropotaman, Trashi Deluxe, Sanje, Gisatema, Sanje, Romzi, Lama, Two Gisatema, the Sabzi, Sabat Semiba, Ninji, Semiba. This is the Omar jumped on the day, comes from simply in terms of Chubam, Trashi Dele.
To all my friends, also on the live stream. And when we see this Buddha's begging bowl, we remember the Buddha and we remember the Dharma, which is immeasurable love and immeasurable compassion. So I'm offering this ocean of milk to all the sentient beings in the three realms of samsara. Dashi Delek. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge in the Buddhas until attaining the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until attaining the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
Nong Kha Nyam Be Sen Jian Tom Jie Dewa Dang Teve Jo Dang Denpa Chur Dong Ha Dang Dong Ha Je Jo Dang Dewa Chur Dong Ha Me Be Dewa Dang Mem Jarwa Chur Nye Ren Cha Dang Nye Dang Da Dang Nyo La Ne Pa Chur
May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Ma le lo ye long de ber la na ten hian do gon to je zong de so da le long juan do ba jian jie da pong kan jian jian tai yong de ma jie da de zong wen gu bo jie se gong mer jie dang jian xie wo shen jie long yong zhe xian jian ga ne song zhou wong dao xie jie man jian lan de men lo man zhan qiu per wei san jie to ba sun jie lu.
An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping, completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and attributes of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. When I offer it, bless me to attain the state of Buddhahood.
Om Guru Deva Dagana Rana Manda Bodhi Sova. Page 11. Sem Chianam Jia San Bata Lo Ye Se Ra Jia Dava Che Chon Tu Mon Te Ba Ye
Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Samba Chuyi 나의 가장 고체 좀 같이 쉬어야 나타내는 데는 아빠 지서로 봐라 니데스 강아지 되게 뭐 자와에 상처도 몰라서 나서 좀 봐서 좀 상견이 그 다큐멘터리 쪽까지 이게 뭐 지서로 봐라 뭐서 이 강의는 다음서 산속습지 도발에 백감이 산제는 강 대바테들이랑 그러지 대다와랑 드바이죠 그 대들들이 이제 다 소소리 소탄에서도 람산 세상화상화 상화상하지 사제 고마에 대마서 받을 때 저르메르메 저다 로보요래 로발람들 마서 다들이서 돈나 다다를 담보 짠돈이 정도 다소 사제가 고망마서 받을 락저를 받을 탐지지 강 탑토고 들어간 거 랍들이 먹게 되죠 탑도 사제가 고망을 롤프 사제 들어 속자 타오리 이제 말하다 사제 고망도 받죠 먼저 대랍 쳔모리 대리들이 뭐민 뭐에게 되는 제 밤에 가가당 일단 쏟아야 되니 세방 소름 세밤에 받에 뭐는 것도 그래 대상지 숨고 요사래
So then we continue the teachings from yesterday. So we are now on page 35, completing the training, praying to complete the training of the Tathagatas. May I completely fulfill all perfect aspirations to the enlightened activities of the victorious Buddhas of the three times by attaining enlightenment according to the deeds of Samantabhadra. When we whatever we practice, for example, when we take the Bodhisattva vow, we do so with the intention to attain enlightenment, the complete state of enlightenment. Whatever path we follow, the Pratimoksha path or the Bodhisattva path, the Vajrayana path on the secret level, we do so in order to attain enlightenment. For that sake, we train gradually. And so in brief, from the very beginning, when we take refuge, until we attain enlightenment, throughout all the stages of the path, whatever we practice, we do so with enlightenment in mind. Or this is saying that I have enlightenment in mind. We benefit sentient beings, even a small being like an animal and so on. With that intention, the deed becomes very vast or powerful. And so that is due to the dedication or aspiration prayer that aims for enlightenment, or the vast or unobjectified dedication prayer. As we mentioned yesterday, that is the inexhaustible ocean. It is the merit and that we seal with the dedication prayer.
류가 예수군이 아무 이게와 생을 사족심지 정신 탐지 사제고 막다 봐들 이게가 아게와 데레드니랑 그 프리베추 춘체니 person 이게 되고 지지라 데라도 추추제 사와 탐지 강 도덕군이 아저가 류기와 마가 당연히 이게 와서 야제들이 마게와 들이 자살이 들이는 탑톡 력이가 저거 력거리자 그 니야 차트에서 정도 말은 때문에 저들은 작도로 생기들이 대바치기는 력거는 까먹기에서 소소 차들 비마다 되와 되면 대답제 연사를 용하게와디 라면 너는 생기듯이 봐요 봐라 되는 samtida mabdang tene nyunga yeso gewa tamjede number tapa de lunga chupa lunga namda lunam sem number tana nga number ta angoli nga number tona three number ta angoli bena sem so something the matter na they say na tungo yore sang들이 tungo yore be number ta so 생각다 디 ta na don something only data 이라고 사죠 근데 요래 요니 되네 고성 사와 탐체 피마를 인정로 요래 파켓에서 뭐서래 이라게 되대 기타 대타 탐체 기타에 마신 차사나다나 풍고성도 돌아서 봐들 타나 드릭이래 되게 벌써 깜찍게 맞아 기타 탐체 기타에서 하고 돼 뭐는 별이지 보자노 이제 뭐 됐다 사제체로 뭐나 이 사제 탐치는 조항은 도리에 배라 또 봐지 지게서 뭐 남그 조항은 요 버리스 남그 조항은 게다 타면 남그 조항은 포들이 뭐 저서 요 탑이 되게 탐지 공는 버져 왔지 이 상추처럼 거기 좀 보지서 봐 뭐 와서
So I'm moving on to 37, praying to complete the training of the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. And so it mentions later, may my body, speech, mind, deeds, and environment always be pure. May I become equal to Samantabhadra in these excellent aspirations. And so may my deeds become vast. And so they become vast when in whatever we do, whatever virtue we practice, we seal that with a dedication prayer. So there is the virtue of the body, speech, and mind. There are various activities of, for example, teaching the Dharma, listening to the Dharma, increasing the Dharma. And whatever practice we do, for example, we take the Sojong vows for 24 hours, or we take refuge in the 3 jewels with great faith, any larger and smaller virtue we may engage in. All of that we must engage in with mindfulness and heedfulness. And so the way in which our actions, body, speech, and mind become pure is that first the mind has to become pure. And when the mind becomes completely pure, the speech becomes pure, and then the body becomes pure. So one's actions of body and speech naturally become pure if the mind is pure. For example, a person who possesses love for others will get along with others naturally, will be in harmony with others. So this purity mainly means to purify self-grasping with love, with bodhicitta. If you have bodhicitta, then your 3 gates, your 3 doors of body, speech, and mind will naturally become to the benefit of others. So that is what I think this verse means. And so also in the 3 Heaps Sutra, it says that even if one offers, like Chenrezig, just a spoonful of food to an animal, one should dedicate these roots of virtue. And so to do so, one needs to recognize, one engages in virtue, but also one needs to recognize that this is merit, this is virtue. And when you recognize it, you can dedicate it, and in this way, through dedication, it becomes vast. And this is similar to putting your wealth of virtue into the treasure house, or like the bank of all the Buddhas. As you mentioned before, there's one quote by Jesus where he said, place your wealth into the treasure houses of the heavens and not the earth. And because when you place it there, then that is a skillful way for your wealth of virtue to remain unchanging. So what all these masters have said is actually essentially the same.
종을 매발때 마음가봐거든 뭐 좋대 사람으로도 자발 빠부치다니지만 자발 산조서 제거든 했더니 자발 빠워서 걸 빠워지는더니 샘지 동도 바로 깡간하더니 깡을 매발 탕무 쳐봐 제 상제 종지 제거더니 다미서로 토서버거든 당보용 콜로 자시 되니 보상 총마더니라고 맥다더니 리소 탐제 당보를 제대로 산조 샘도 바로 종을 매봐대 산쪽집에 샘대기는 새 류대 돌로니 맞다 보면 나와 요 말이 산쪽에 샘마도 류대 철반 손을 드린 것을 주고 요 말이 다조 제송을 대다 산쪽 샘바 요 류대 좀 맞다 보면 하고 좀 드리 소도 가는 영화에 봐 용서도 답서 뭐는 좀 있는 배서 말이 딱 때려 인사리시
And then praying to complete the training of the Bodhisattva Manjushri. In order to perform excellent virtue, may I act according to the aspirations of Manjushri, not tiring throughout future kalpas. May I perfect these activities. So before Kumara Norsang met with Samantabhadra, he met with Manjushri. And so actually of the 8 great bodhisattvas, he was also referred to as the heroic, he was called the heroic Manjushri. Heroic because, as it says here, without tiring, because he never grew tired or exhausted from engaging in the benefit of sentient beings, the welfare of sentient beings. Just like the Buddha himself, the Buddha had accumulated merit throughout 3 endless aeons, and then in his life after being the Buddha, he first was a prince in a great kingdom, and then he gave up his family, his child, his wife. He gave up his body, his whole life for the sake of others, because he gave rise to bodhicitta. If you have bodhicitta, you will see this body just like old clothing. If you do not have bodhicitta, even if you're pricked by a thorn, you will not be able to bear it. But if you have bodhicitta, you are able to understand this body as an illusion. And then this gives one the strength to act tirelessly for the sake of others. So again, this is my take on this verse.
교바들은 체험하죠. 요리는 저 세종이 가지고 교바 세미벌 내리야. 그래서 주바담전 차와예. 저리 뒤에서 이 체비 바데 가리리데 교바라 뒤라게 체비바 이 책된 내리 연구이다. 남그 탁탁 받자 담바. 심지만은 사는데 제가 레다 영어도 나가 주마한테 해서 뭐서 자와 탐식이 몇송 말에 남과는 타요할 때 타요 말와 대는 게 심지는 장외 말에 제대로 타이는 되지 나는 심지만 좀 호와 맞던 거 봐도 난 뭐람데 그러다 내디 라마 탐제래 자띵부래 호와 맞던 거 봐도 여기서 좀 세일만 계획이 있던지 송 거당 송 그봐 주면 제발 내 좀 나가는 턱 내지는 못해는 생기탄 생기 소소를 내시 정보 요리 내시 정보 되고 리스ton 거 요 말에 들어와 요 살에 내지나 내시 정보 각리도 내 성순으로 돌아도 성어요 내시 정보도 돌아도 말에 이 세상을 접어서 다 손이 세나 세상도 차수 좋아 다 손이 내 내시 정보 타도 요리 싸움하게 되니 루메당 어디 내시 정보 루스tan 거 요 말에 데리고 와서 요사를 이미 하고 말이 그만 간다고래 데다가 뭐는 다 제가 뭐 선들려고 뭐는 이 고안에 제가 와들이 변내디 나로 맞이가 좋아지지 해서 남까지 기가래서 좋아졌어 대가 살모도 남가는 타면 매송에 남가 타 기세요 말이잖아. 다 고고요리. 다면 다 고고요. 라는 거 고토 대가래는 라는 거 고토 대 나는 그 위대래. 대래대 동동 세번 내려더니 받쳐지 저거도 요살이 이렇게 와서 남당에 리대 따니. 다저 남고 거는 라는 거 고가래 될 우세. 다이 다된 저기 온다메다 하고 말이야. 공놈에서 계단 그래. 좀 된다고 그래야 돼.
And then page 39, praying by means of gathering. And so regarding this gathering here, which is the opposite of proliferation. So in terms of proliferation, there is really no end to analyzing things. For example, science has analyzed phenomena endlessly. But then also, a special quality of Buddhism is that we know how to gather things into their essence. So if we proliferate, if we elaborate, then there is vast and profound samsara and nirvana. And then if we gather, it all gathers in the nature of emptiness. So it says, may there be no limit to my activities. May there be no limit to my virtues. Through limitless perseverance, may I accomplish all miraculous deeds. So this limitless here, or immeasurable, limitless, that actually also, the meaning of that is actually explained in the next verse, which is the measure of having accomplished the fruition of the prayer. The limit of beings is like the limit of open space. May the limit of my aspirations be equal to the limit of their activities and passions. That is also a verse that His Holiness the Dalai Lama often mentions. So limitless, like space, there is no limits to space. And such should be our compassion or our love for limitless sentient beings until samsara becomes empty. There was actually, so these disciples often also make a long life prayer for the guru, and they say, may you always remain until the end of samsara. And so to the guru, there is the aspect of the body, speech, and the mind. And even the outer guru's body and speech always appears as nirmanakaya until there are no more sentient beings. And then ultimately, the mind of the guru is Buddha nature. Also, sentient beings possess Buddha nature. And actually, it is Buddha nature that will always continue to exist. It is Buddha nature that will never give us up. So again, this is, I think that is what this verse means. Even if we go into the lower realms for thousands of years, Buddha nature will never become spoiled. So therefore, Buddha nature never forsakes us. And whenever we have purified our obscurations of hatred, of stinginess, of attachment, and so forth, Buddha nature will emerge completely liberated. So the secret way in which we are never forsaken, so to speak. So the Buddha never gives up on us, or the Guru never leaves us, is really on the basis of Buddha nature. So again, this is my understanding of this verse. And however, you should also ask questions to the great masters regarding that. Actually, one time, there was a disciple who asked me a question. They asked that, where is the center of space? And so I was first thinking, actually space doesn't have a center or a boundary. But then that person really insisted, they really wanted to find that center of space. So then I said, if you really want to know where the center of space is, it is right above your head. Wherever your head is, that's where the center of space is. And also, this is just a kind of spontaneous thought that arose in my own mind. And it might actually be connected to the ultimate nature of the mind. If you want to find the center of space, it's wherever you are, right above your head. And I'm not sure if that is an appropriate answer. Maybe the great masters can evaluate that.
공을 까봐 잠소서 파토를 까봐 잠소리 까봐 잠소들은 가세 땅 타수양매 받아라 그래. 저 너들이 깨끗 까봐다 까봐 깨끗대 파토 그러는 까봐 잠소서 파토도 저들은 깨끗 까봐다 깨끗 까봐지데 라고 세분내로 깨끗 만든 통송인데 똥반이래들이 제 총량도 배워야돼. 대라고도 고아 차나더니 돈다고 되면이 맞아빼라. 그래서 돈이 돈 대니력은 상제에 대해서 말씀진 거죠. 세고 내려도 하고서 까빠 잡도 돼서 우리 요래 동네 하고는 sakchi 가가면은 네 주는 말이 되는 만들면 돼. 세고 내려도 어서 들이 참아대. 그저 까빠다 기대 까빠 쳐버는 것보다 덕적되는 돈이 되라서 하든지 하여튼 송지야 자침부터 써고 내려오래 고아야 요래.
And so there's this reference to like aeons, or is this in the previous verse, an ocean of aeons. May you remain for an ocean of aeons. And if we think about eons, this is a measure that we cannot comprehend. So that is when we elaborate, and there's these aeons. But then when we gather an aeon, there is the aeon of a moment. So there is within one moment there is an aeon. That is if we gather, just like we mentioned before, within a single atom there's all these countless Buddhas. So when we gather or look at the actual nature of the mind, then in an instant, when we see the nature of the mind in an instant, we see all of aeons and all in just one moment. So all aeons are complete within a single instant of seeing the empty space-like nature of the mind. And so this is how it exists from the ultimate perspective. So as it is said, if you recognize it, you are a Buddha. Not recognizing it, you are a sentient being wandering in samsara. So in brief, when you recognize the true nature of the mind, within this moment of recognition, you find an ocean of aeons. Or in the Ganges Mahamudra, it says, there is no phenomenon not included within that, within the natural state of the mind. And so when you see the natural state of the mind in a moment, in that moment of seeing, you see all aeons are complete within that, just like all Buddhas are complete, and Pure Lands are complete within a single atom. So here again, in terms of this term aeon, we can actually gain a very profound understanding too.
Monum tupake wa konta sango la nile monum de pion jebar jebada dudi de ma wo tambo la nile chendere jong pion tang sab yin de jong pion also
So then we come to the conclusion. It says, in the end, an outline of the prayer's benefits. Then, as outlining the benefits of the prayer, there's a detailed outline, a detailed outline of the prayer's benefits, and then that has two parts: the benefits arising in this life, and then later the benefits arising in other lifetimes.
가끔 뭐 잡았는데 튀니 상주 저거 제대로 뭐 리제도 대봐요. 그는 담배 줬는 데저로 소세. 그 doctor 도다고 지고 그 doctor 다 파르드스만 나게 저런 gem발라서 거기 망고선 그 대탑저 소는 준재미 받치고선 거기. 대종 잠보 좀 모는데 니 동다 차탕하고네 뒤쪽나라 되지 东当上过就当了，这不用钱送这里。他经说上这个要的没他们，这都躺着我说我们得了钱用的，他这帮上去叫人东没怎么的呢？这嘛嘞，这我那个东当我听这个多的凶过嘞，这让我做一啥嘞是，
So first there is the benefits of this life. So first is receiving merit. Whoever offers to the victorious Buddhas all the perfect joys of gods and men, and the infinite realms of the 10 directions adorned with jewels, for as many aeons as there are atoms in those realms, shall gain great merit. But whoever hears this greatest dedication prayer and is inspired by faith to intensely desire supreme enlightenment shall gain even higher and holier merit. So through recitation of this prayer, one receives great merit. And so now there's the relative and the ultimate. On the relative level, we practice mainly 5 parameters, generosity and so forth. And in this way, we accumulate great merit. And then now here it says, however, when one hears this or understands the meaning of this aspiration prayer for excellent conduct and really reflects on its meaning, the benefit of that is even greater. The way we should understand this is that sometimes we may grow weary of these ordinary virtuous activities. And also I myself have felt that way. And then we might just want to close our eyes and meditate, but this is not what this is, what the meaning of this here. But it's really to understand the meaning of that prayer. It's just speaking about the power of this prayer. And so to me, there seems to be a difference in the kind of dedication prayer that we make. So normally on the relative level, we may practice virtue. And however much virtue we may practice on the relative level, there's always some concept of a self in this and future life. So it always arises that I am this thought of me, I am practicing virtue. But then on the ultimate level, there is no such a division of self and other. And that is actually what we call to attain the state of enlightenment. And that seems to be the actual inner meaning of this prayer. So we are actually aiming for complete enlightenment. That is why we say, may beings attain, or may I attain complete enlightenment. So and these words actually really point to that. So that again is my take.
다 상지 공항은 로요를 받제 되는데 나도 배만 보여서 다른데서 마음으로 일단 이만에 맞세 돼야 되더라고 멋지들 먹고 되는 정도를 생답나 레벨로 토당 소마 요가 사마 연구요래 소마 요가를 먹으니 생각답나 노송디 다좀 레벨도 상지 공항을 먹고 마음으로 사마 사서 공항을 먹는 그렇게 다들 초라도요 말 그래서 체내 기관나 만나서 들 강에 있어는 어디 땅이 기와도 당가서죠 어디에 출발이야 버리 코베 강에 채서 대로 선들이 라지 탐실에 게다를 줘봤지 이렇게 달라면 사제 공항을 강에 설 때가 내 다로 요리스 야고도 좀 쓰는 거죠 대대 쓰는 거죠 야고 쪽선 강에 제 때가 다 그래서 아무튼이 람도 제가 되더니 연구 요리 대지네 탕을 채봐 나다다 근데 빠오송 잡아 빠오도 되는 게자대 수남지 저텔라 아싸는 또 당그 때에 기침을 요사래 했다 사고지 말하는 때 다른 공부도 되게 좋았어.
And then seeing the Tathagatas, whoever recites the aspiration of Samantabhadra will never again endure hellish rebirth, will abandon all evil friends, and will soon behold Amitabha, the Buddha of boundless light. And then they will gain all benefit, live in happiness, attain precious human rebirth, and soon become like Samantabhadra himself. When we make such an aspiration prayer and we pray for final complete enlightenment, then the results will naturally arise. So some do practice the Dharma, but they have this life in mind. They want things to work out in this life. And that is because they still grasp at the true or concrete existence of things. So there is a difference in the kind of scope of our aspiration. Sakya Pandita said that one who clings to this life is not a real Dharma practitioner. We have to give up this life, concern for this life, and that will culminate in enlightenment. Even if we are if we don't think I want to attain enlightenment, even if you think I don't need to, it will just happen naturally. Because if you plant a certain seed into the ground, then slowly it will naturally grow. The fruit will grow along with all the leaves. But if you are planting a seed just for the leaves and not for the fruit, then that is mistaken. We have to have in mind complete enlightenment. Then our virtues will not become spoiled. Otherwise, we might lose our virtue, for example, when we regret. First, we practice the Dharma, and then we encounter difficulties, and then we think it's because of the Dharma. Or you may see a Dharma practitioner and say that, no, they are a great Dharma practitioner, they practice the Dharma, but then they had all these difficulties. And then it's possible that self and other may regret having practiced the Dharma. And this is how we lose that virtue. But if you have enlightenment in mind, not just this life, then whatever suffering you encounter, you will see it as a karmic purification. And if things go well, you would see that as the result of merit. And if there is suffering, you will see it as a purification and take it as the path. So practice with it without tiring, just like the heroic Manjushri. So there is a difference when it comes to how we think about our roots of virtue. And that's important.
상황보다가 저번에 강남 미시방에 저번에 대상보 좀한데 녀도만 용서 상황죠. 이 강이 레게다가 용서 세반여와데 첸들이 오면 병원 넣어서 삼매별에서는 변에 사긴 가가면은 송거리 고독을 다 매비 짐핑을 로상 저세는 좀 때문에 나지 진비가 로지가你把这个人那样对老上体的진비 로서 대개到了大没没的这个你们吧老上上这搞不到的啥不嘛准备这个嘛上是的到了一些点嘛的人呢用把刚呢你们一些人就透过有上就说的啥用的呢这他们这个的嘞他的来就这把用的你们来就这把用是谁把你就话的来就话的他的大的等你的我的把差个等你那种当然大概你们会来啥他的把差的了这边好了的我差个这样家乡我这这人我讲嘛的没理应聘了可能我讲嘛的有嘛的这为了这把讲上没完了你那的来就这把用是谁把你就话的应聘个上出什么用的的大家一这个路没有当不大家这个路没法抢过来上出什么这里大家这个路没法抢了这里来就这把大老有了这里人也没办法一个抢的这可能
And then next is the complete exhaustion of karmic obscurations. Even those who in ignorance committed the 5 unredeemable sins will soon be completely purified by reciting this aspiration of Samantabhadra. So the complete exhaustion of karmic obscurations. So that concludes also the benefits arising in this life. Also in the Ganges Mahamudra teachings, it is referred to as like this mind that completely exhausts all karmic obscuration is like an apocalyptic fire. So that is a mind of bodhicitta, an altruistic mind that is completely selfless. And if one has an altruistic mind, even if one commits a misdeed, a mistake, through the power of the altruistic mind and because of selflessness, the afflictive emotion this fault will very quickly become purified. So in the Ganges Mahamudra, it says, the darkness of 1,000 aeons is cleared away in an instant by a single lamp flame. So if one possesses wisdom, then one is able to transform the afflictive emotions into wisdom, primordial wisdom. Otherwise, ordinarily, we accumulate karma. First, there is a self, and the self develops the afflicted thoughts, and these afflicted thoughts create karma, karmic imprints. And these imprints then are projected just like a TV show, manifesting to you. Whereas when there is an altruistic mind, then there is no concept of me. And therefore, there is no film, nothing there to be projected. So that is all, again, speaking about the quality of altruism or bodhicitta and the realization of the non-duality of self and others. So if one possesses bodhicitta, one becomes free of a selfish or self-cherishing mind. And if one is free of that, one can purify the karmic obscurations easily. And then after that, one can benefit others.
ne kapje peyong ne kapje ta ni ma pe ma she ore de kana sa je te ma de pedrep ma bo song ore ta nga rang ma che la de pedrep kan de song tok ji ta bon ji ma de song de ka ri song ro de ta je ma nya ba de ka ni nya to ya phe ba de ka ni ta ta ka de de ba ka de pa to ka de ma ba ka de ta ta ka de ma ba de ta ha ko to ku yo re de ta de ni de ma de mo de ma ta so ma sa je de ma de me par ton du ba ta tong to ku yo ma re ngi pe ma bo she ta 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 ren tek ba mo do de ko ro so mo ta je jab sang je ge de ne ja wa tham che che mo ro so no ta na ha ko re de to nje de kham na jo ku ge ba ge we shin yin tham che 다다발린 가자카니 담부치 좀 편집이지 삼로당을 레라고 하고 소요했지.
And so then next is the benefits arising in other lifetimes. And so first, the benefits at the time of the cause. They will achieve perfect wisdom, a radiant countenance, beautiful form, auspicious physical marks, and a noble birth. Profane and devilish being will not trouble them, and they will be honored in the 3 realms. So now this is now speaking from the perspective of the benefits from the perspective of the cause. So, for example, when we look around the world and the Buddha's teachings, how they appeared in this world and then declined and then appeared again. Even just in my own lifetime, I've witnessed much. We went through the First and Second World Wars. A lot of decline, degeneration has occurred, and again, a lot of rising has occurred. We can see how things have been in the past and how they are now. And so based on this, we can also understand what the future will be like. For example, regarding the Buddha's teachings, even if one wants to destroy the Buddha's teachings, one wouldn't be able. And I've already gave many examples about that before, so I won't go into that again. But really think about that. Actually, His Holiness the Dalai Lama also, when you think about His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for example, or other spiritual masters all over the world, what their activities, how they increase the Dharma and so on. If you just think about examples like this, you will be able to easily understand.
산적 생활로도 대년도 통면심집에서 대도도 산적도 홀로로도 뒤남 대다게 봐 탐지 떠성 산적 생활기 봐야 다 산적의 샘대 행동 뭘 빼야 요래 너무 지뭘 빼야 너무 지못게 다다다 생기면 뭐 야차든지 조금 장은이 좀 들이대는 내 말이지 탐지 답고 저 세배 대도 남 생기 탐지 대도 다 주다사마다 가면이 이제 탐지 천지 동지발 사고사다 살았으면 수박수 쏘고 요래 탐지 다다 뒤는 대다 제가 탐지 떠서 드시바지 다 뒤대로 니와가 들이텔라서 뒤당 뒤운이 됐다다데 산쪽sem도 다디가 접요래 대리 뉴모지 뒤탐지 선능 싸움에 뒤서는 낭게 다디서 뉴모 벌레 저거요래 산쪽통나 그놈라도 그데 따따따 때만 만들어서 사지 산쪽선만 저기 사제 때만에 정부에서 가려 난게도 대탐지 무슨 책만 통야지 즉디서 고고서는 천대랑 통지 조금 정도 통도 요래 담배 취해서 안 좋은 거 용어지 다디 좀 잡아내 등이 마트 날 가르쳐 성동변에 레게 대도 담제 동에 담제 가이게 성종 대월에 대탐지 체트 산초 선바탐지 다 살리거려 난게도 성공당고에 말아니 소리 때나 대독가에서 대화 탐지 산축 생활 양상사 레그더니 대화 독고요리 동해 탐지랑 레다 유용배용 거에 이용보한테 자로 탐지까지 산축 성포나리 랑의 징의 선홍적 대나 교세지 탐지 레그스는 도요리 디고로 상못당을 대서 고와 연거요리
And then next is the benefits at the time of the result. They will quickly reach the tree of enlightenment and reside there to benefit all beings. As enlightened Buddhas, they will turn the wheel of Dharma, taming their demonic hosts. So here, this tree of enlightenment, so enlightenment is like a tree, like a large tree. For example, a tree is also really an emanation of a Buddha because it provides shelter for limitless sentient beings. It protects them from the heat of the summer and the cold of the winter. It provides them with sustenance, and shelter. That's just an outer example, but on the inner level, what this example exemplifies is that the Buddhas appear to benefit sentient beings in various ways, also in places where the Dharma has not spread, throughout the three kinds of existence. And here that is in the upper direction, the lower direction, and on the surface. So then it says here that taming the demonic hosts, the demons, the actual real demon is that which obscures bodhicitta, and that is self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. And then there is outer, inner, and secret demons. And the inner demon are our afflictive emotions. So they will become liberated, this prayer says. And so, for example, regarding the spreading of the Buddha's teachings in terms of the result, we can see in this world directly many great beings who propagate, preserve, and increase the Buddha's teachings. Lord Thigden Sumgyen said we can see the qualities of the Dharma, or actually bodhicitta, in this very lifetime already. And we can also see the faults of self-grasping. When we look around in the world where there is so much suffering, wars, and disease, and all of that arises from karma. Whatever happiness or suffering you experience arises from karma. And so that is the sphere of activity of the great bodhisattvas. So think about their qualities and think about your own experiences of happiness and suffering. If there is suffering, then that is the result of afflictive emotions and negative karma committed in previous lives. And so this prayer, the activities of the bodhisattvas, are a method to separate us from suffering and a method for cultivating a mind of bodhicitta. So whatever we see in the world, the entire universe and all sentient beings within the universe, everything arises from karma, cause and effect. So if you really think about this, then you will be able to understand.
상주로 소변 맞지 그래서 이 강에는 다 정보적으로 뭐는데 다른 르는 창나랑 도마랑 동다 그 자상 지대가 될 것 같아서 지나 들이 진 타토르에 추바담이 되어서 다소 르면 당화들이 성택도 요래 너는 사족되는 공부 창을 대다 이 비용도 치라 들으라는 거지. 타부 성템도 요래 빼는데 그만 나빠라가 송아리 담머리 동디 좀 빼카고 요래 담머리 동디 담머리 추적 체가는 냠스랑들이 상마제들이 머리 동디 말해야지 대자고 상고요래 말해 통주진이 돈 조디 동도를 맞춘 통도를 세마를 dorte 탐지 거니 제티 탐지 통도를 대라서 와나 대마제 같은 거니 람지가 타바 상호 템로를 치열 머리 도딩이 잡주 돈바도 못되게 톱좀 찾는 이 가용 맞이는 그 머리 도딩이 상호 템로 대리 종을 리다 그 말이 산도생고 대소 말가 보통통이 다 대리 다 잡주도 뭐 다치고 인사이 신들이란 게 대리도 하 고소하게 하고 고초좀 기술진 봐야지 베르가 좀 강한 요대 거고 만만을 권초 잡지래 그래 남밖에 신이 담지 치랑만이 뺏으면 남쳐 버리셔서 뭐 유도 맨날 그도 고초도 유도도 고초라고 그래 대리를 수는 빠도는 바삭도 송대서 대답을 전하더란 은혜도 권초 용띠디 람지들이 사초 선바담되게 로카셀 오디 용띠 하고는데 다들 사초 선바담게 마성도 하고 말이야 고초좀 짜진 보이면 시요데 다음 바테다 하고 대답을 해들이 돈들이 산지 탐색에 제 반찬에 대해서 심지 탐색을 배웠을 때 접로요 그래서
And so then next is illustrating the benefits concisely. Whoever preserves, teaches, or recites this aspiration of Samantabhadra shall ultimately attain perfect Buddhahood. May none despair of complete enlightenment. So whether one wears this aspiration prayer close to one's body, or one recites it, or even if one just hears its sound and understands the meaning, the seed of liberation will be planted, and that will never leave you. That will never give up on you, and it will mature in the ultimate fruition. So in this way, the seed of liberation is already planted. And then we have to habituate to the mind of bodhicitta, understand its benefits. But just through understanding this prayer and hearing it, the seed is planted. Actually, when I was young, my father told me this. He said that people think that it's very difficult for one's precious human body to really become meaningful in one's lifetime, because that would require one to spend one's entire life in retreat and just practice the Dharma. And then if one doesn't do that, then one's precious human body goes wasted or is not so meaningful. And he said that that's absolutely not the case, because it becomes very meaningful in many different ways. For example, when you simply come into contact with liberation through hearing, or through tasting, or through seeing, or touching, the seed of liberation is already planted and your life has become very meaningful. For example, we have this liberation by seeing mantras. Anyone who sees them, who comes into contact with them, will have the seed of liberation planted within them naturally. And this makes this life meaningful. And in particular, in this life, if one receives one only receives the refuge vow, and one doesn't do anything else, one has really planted the actual seed of liberation, and that will never give up on one. So this is what he told me when I was very young. And then I really understood that the refuge vow is really very precious. And thinking about that, I remember the 3 jewels. And actually, when I was in prison, so my name is Gunchok Yamtsen. And so, by the way, Gunchok means, it refers to the 3 jewels. Or it means jewel, but it refers to the 3 jewels. And so in prison, some spiritual masters, the others would say, you have a lot of merit. They would tell me that. And that is because even though those prison officials don't really want to say that word 3 jewels, obviously, they are saying it all the time by calling your name. They call you Gunchok. So actually, every time they do that, you're accumulating incredible merit. And so every time they say that, really the qualities of the 3 jewels arises in the mind. And so that is one great quality of the 3 jewels, or just this name, then hearing their name. And so there are many bodhisattvas who came to benefit beings, and I've always understood how precious that is, and how precious the Dharma is, but only when I really heard that did I really understand the power that arises from it. So in brief, the enlightened activities of the Buddhas will always appear to benefit sentient beings.
니들은 책과 계시를 강의자다 산첩 졸로 소비마지 계시 아 디책도 이제 계시 뭐 산첩 초들 상철들의 삼지리 삼지 최종 강요는 다는 들이 속차죠 삼지제너라고 삼지 치아가 바닥이 중앙 다들 바닥 마대라서 왔다고 강의 삼지 시바도 사적 성리시 디 삼지의 강화제는 대도 생기 탐세를 능에대 요리 삼지니 동의 초와들 레븐고에 동의 초와들 레븐 대 시즌한테 동의 시바로 작품 좀 나왔대 대는 동의게 저들 실들이랑 그들이 산쪽 샘대요나 들이랑 그 주기 뉴모가 가려 나디 들톡도 나디는 뉴모 톡디도 다른 뭐 채널이 다른 게 로드티 말이 배송을 뉴몽자와 미송자와 시당이 소라 밥자 조바고 지말이 배송말이 오 말이 봐 나를 먼저 내려 먼저 강남 먼저 오 제시를 먼저 시당이 적고 오 소라 조바고 되지 조바 공제들 아니서 호텔 강사와 유리 삼제 요리第三쪽 섬지도 그러나第3만 상호당 오 라고 받아 정말 많이 들이 많아 받아냐 무슨 게 됐어 오 따뜻하게 받아 정말 자기 니가 됐어 무슨 들을 참았던 게第4바 세비되지 오또 산쪽 섬도 톱처럼 내들이 됐어 말이야 또 비용 참아 너도 저기 다 삼제를 다 타고 요래 산쪽으로 손님을 되게 태도 보면 돼 조산쪽 삼제대 삼제대 요때 초라 마땅히 따고 잡고 탑됐다 탑다 또다 뭐람 니시디 이제 좋단데 이시 배도 뭐지 단전 잡고 좋은 참아도는 또다로 선동나지 책가리 책적고를 되더니 초아디지 하고 요리 이제 장보고 용띠데 장보 줘봐도 단답을 갖다 공시해 봐는 일이 사와서 뭐 줘봐서 뭐 소리 다 삼세리 다 삼세요 매일 콜 삼세요라 내가 야고 지그리지 mamang pinsen samnona shibdela samota gres rawate gres ti ta samode ti samje yo be yon ti ta samje me be chung te ka ka sin ti samte da ra so lo pa ta zo ba go mo je ka ten se ona o te ri she da ma ra si ta se ma se me se ge le ko ke ku ga se ge le nga se lo re chi yena ko se ko jiang ma na 파바들이 이런 게 돈이 대신에 파고서 제til에 콩레가 가서 그 요리 대당 말안서 때문에 데이터 월들이 소로 방향 주바고 돈 삼대 대시당 그다라 막고 삼대 요리들이 제동 저 다운이 좀 사제제 거 삼마서 봐 처음 먹고 어떻게 섬유시 가서 처음에 되네 섬유가 사족 줄 이 뭐지 사조도 제 갖고를 마상 총총이 삼제 뒤서 쏘고리 내가 도는 세대와는 사는 세 사인 곳에 되게 지모래
So there's one very extremely important term here. Let's see which one is here in the text. May none despair of complete enlightenment, or may they all attain perfect Buddhahood. So these words are extremely important, and so enlightenment is attained when we cultivate bodhicitta, and if you have, and it begins on a very small scale. When you love an animal, for example, or you love your spouse or your child or your parents, this love, it is this feeling of love that is bodhicitta. And it arises when you think of sentient beings, for example, those that you love, and you think that they experience great suffering, then a feeling arises within you. Now, the Buddha said that first you must recognize suffering, and then abandon the origin of suffering. So when bodhicitta, or love, arises in your mind, then this is how we subdue the 6 afflictive emotions and self-grasping. Bodhicitta is really most precious. Milarepa said that the root of the lower realms is hatred. Therefore, I practice patience, even at the cost of my life. Milarepa was not afraid of anything. He was not afraid of gods or demons. He was not afraid of death. He was only afraid of hatred. Therefore, he said, even at the cost of my life, I practice patience. So if there is love in your mind, then this mind of bodhicitta is what pacifies everything, what tames like those like demonic hosts. So really think about this quality. And it's not just your family, your children and spouses and so on, but think of all Mother Sentient beings, limitless as space. They all experience great suffering. When you think of that, compassion and bodhicitta arises in you. And once bodhicitta has arisen, then there is no more doubt in your mind. Bodhicitta is what doubtlessly overcomes all evil. There's no need to doubt about anything about that, as long as you do not allow your love to become spoiled. So therefore, we have to apply skillful methods to not lose our love. So there is skillful means, there is the paramita of power, the paramita of aspiration, prayer, and ultimately the paramita of wisdom. And so skillful means are, for example, keeping this prayer close and reciting this prayer, understanding the words contained in this prayer. When you understand the words, a feeling arises in you, and that should arise. And that is the quality of the aspiration prayer for excellent conduct. Whoever in the world understands it will understand the quality of bodhicitta and engage in excellent conduct. So if one person possesses great love, whatever they do will be of benefit for their community, for everyone else. They will engage in activities to contribute to peace and happiness and freedom. So it's important to see the difference between the qualities of love and the faults of self-clinging. And if you understand that, you will be able to practice patience, even at the cost of your life. For example, even if someone were to kill you, threatened to kill you, you would not get angry at them, but you would recognize that even if they kill me, that is my karma. If I wouldn't have the karma, they couldn't kill me. In a previous life, they have been someone extremely kind, like my parent or my friend. And I have mistreated them, so now they come to take my life. That is my karma. So I'm not angry at them. As Milarepa said, practice patience even at the cost of your life. So in brief, by all means, you must not allow your love to become lost through anger. And if you only safeguard your love, then in this life and future lives, until you attain enlightenment, you will experience happiness. There is no doubt about that. Of course, and also don't think that it's so difficult to cultivate bodhicitta. You begin small, with a small feeling of love, and then that has to be accumulated. So it is just like we are recognizing those little sparkling stars of gold inside an ordinary rock.
samte ke tere kera tere jimari no wa to mani jenu je pang sam masa san no wa to mo yo le jenu je pang go sam lo su ge je so sa je ge je so so kang ye ji no je pa tong na je pa tong te le da di zo je ne da nga phe ge sam to go le ka che gu ni sam hi je jang phe ge 강 다다 점바 처럼 조바선데 같이 피게도 마창들 나무 같이 용나 대 피지적으로 sab제 용나 대 피지 sab제 요리 점바 요리 처럼으로 조바에 대해서 속에서 상계에서 대략 띠니들이 이제 감탐치는 죽지 좀이 감숨 재미 가리네 대체 속에 줄을 sab제 용나 저다 팽가도 sab제도 저도도 지금 상계래 상계가 가서 취대 상제래. 다 철 상제 되게 님바래스. 네, 다 취. 포르도 좀 당한 상제 고요래스. 취된 것도 돼. 상제래. 야. 상제디는 나도 게디말. 게디말에나 말랑 딱게 땅이야. 나무리 습진 상파츠미도 do mune sa pa se mi do re nga gedin pa ta ndik sa re ti samti zong ta ho ma ti wa chi ti wa ma nyam ma ti zong ti ko to pe ta ti ta la gong nga ti cham nyam ni ta be chi sa ta be che le de ta be che go le sa ji yong ti sa ma ja de jik ti kham ye che zong ping tam ji de ro be jo so mo sam ti ge yong ti sam ti ti so ka ta ko ja so 다르고 자록데 다 장주디 오리 가마버 다보 상태에 하고 드리테 다보자 대체 저다 조항 거죠 뭐하다 뭐는다 장주데 뭐람리 다티 상태에 장보여 마데 생기실때 뭐바세지 조카스지서 요래 사족템 돈바리들 오 상지에 탐색을 뒤섞어 사고 단 조항치 뭐 냠좀 해봐 디 조항들이 다 상태들은 제와질 땅을 상태에 주는 보이 사조선 벌도 말하다 담색도 고소는 사진에 좀 상태에 주지 못해 대들은 밑에 들어들리는 게 상계들 상계가 상태에 또 다그서부터 다모랑을 문에서 사제 주기 용듯이 다그서 줄 상태에 제 이렇게 위지부터 들고 데르다 뭐 상태 종목만 별도면도 사제가 잠이서는 초사를 다른 상태에 쌓여라 이 속으로 세지 속으로 쌓아래. 이게 나가 싸면 저 사지 삼지삼도 잡소나게 되니 사축서로 도망가는 것. 이런 거 대지지고 또 다른 거. 취지 얘기 또 되는 뭐 이리 사지를 이제 세대. 따뜻한 차롱차 something 거거든. 이러고서는 다도만 차롱도 쳐줘지요. 대이지 걸 때 손 태ቶም 고요 말이. 이리 세지는 사지에 있어. 온저 로버트 마테리 또 저기 코와도 가르도 정말 대들 사제지 주지 이렇게 되지 좀 어떤 적이 가나 대탐지 다 피파도 대와 좀 탐지 가려는데 참아 사제가 사와래 14세 사제 사와 대로 사제의 주제 용 띵들 되는 들이랑 게도 들이랑 게 인도도 정도 대도도 제들이 네 하도 사족들을 마티와 찌와 마냠바 공기 공부가 다 모아다 모는 다른 초사 제종 가리나 다나 드리제레도 지벌 세갑죠 답답을 위해서 말이 이도 살 좋더라 좋더라 좀 플라워 좀 플라워 대라도 또 다고 사제들 롤부터 사제를 벌써 사제도 강나 요새는เป็น아리자 카르 로랑 제구나 취잡잖아 아리자 카르 용도를 배기거리 매겨주고 쫄롱주고 쳐주고 다 자카르니 용아제 놓고는 자카고 되는 로통도 못해 강이 용어리 드리는 거래 아리 자카르 팽문이 고모체를 취잡잖아 대단히 이야사 쪽도 사와를 이제 사쪽도 시행해요 말이지 피바다 되면서 심지를 피바에서 뒤서서 사쪽도 저러고 그래 탐치 사쪽 저러래 이제 사와 투지 사와든지 데이터가 되는 데이터라 사쪽도 용디 시 대랑은 제 다들이 대통 보고만 없어 대통 보고 망보들이 남고 사제겠지 Then Chuti, Sanjay Chuti, Chula Gin song. Then Zambaling the take the paper that they saw something young, the Hako, Dati Chung Hako, double the Dongin Carisono. Then Penu is the Meshtal Gardati Hakon. Oh, that's not just 10 minutes, Jung Kando, Yunti Kando. That's not to tell the woman. That is all. That's all about the Zoba Gonzon. The data similar. Shook the Kiri or the Yamamiba, the Sonia Mazi jokes on the Tetomeba, I told them Tetomeba, young Gore. The reads somewhat the rung at the paying of the rung data was somewhat done. The data down at the but to the report that they are somewhere. The chapter to one of the young on the top of the Dukun to the Pading, young dark Hogan, never Congo Podium by an language they know. There's a hot the chipper still now when it's on it, or there is somewhat. Oh, that's how they get to dream, but you just dream, get you Jesus dream out. Then Miss Suina in Tong Choguri, or Sancho going to Tong Choguri. We thought that was someone that Tevin is all like what was Zoro Chidi, or Kitan Mugo Chotoji, did the music Zongson to get it. They for the Jupiter somewhat on a data very the semi sound took them there. It is Dimbo, you, diesel and data got it your head.
This is a method to cultivate bodhicitta where it has not yet arisen, to not let it decline where it has arisen, and to ever further increase it. Lord Jigten Sumgön had said, if you practice merit or virtue in whatever you do, then that is there's no other perfection of skillful means. That is the method. Therefore, this is the kind of the effortless way of accumulating merit. And so he said also meditation is the effortless way of accumulating merit. And so to give an example from my own personal experience, for example, I'm using this begging bowl of the Buddha to drink my tea from. And that is actually a tradition that comes from Jigten Sumgön. Jigten Sumgön said that all of his followers should drink from a begging bowl. And so this is called a Buddha's begging bowl. The Buddha, when he was alive, and his disciples used such a bowl to go around and beg for alms, beg for food, using such a bowl. And then living such a life of a renunciate, Buddha was then able to practice and benefit many sentient beings. So there is much meaning, therefore, in that begging bowl. When I see this begging bowl, I remember the Buddha. And so what do I remember, really, when I remember the Buddha? I remember his kindness. And his kindness is that he gave the teachings on love. He gave the methods to cultivate love where it has not yet arisen. And if we understand that, we will be very skillful in cultivating love. For example, even on a smaller scale, if we just feed an animal, for example, that is generosity, that is merit. If you understand that, you will not want to harm anyone. And that's really the essence of ethical discipline. And so how do we know that? We know that through the kindness of the Buddha. The Buddha taught that when we practice generosity, we accumulate great merit. And he taught that we must give up self-grasping if we want to avoid suffering. So if I only think about this personally, it benefits me the most. So the Buddha gave the teachings on love and compassion. And if we have love, we will practice generosity, ethical discipline, and patience. And we know the benefits that come from such practices. For example, in a family that loves each other, there is great harmony. They will be generous and patient and not harm each other and so on. And so how do we know all of this? We know this from the Buddha, through the Buddha's kindness. And so whichever sentient being, whether with a body or without a body, anywhere in the three realms of samsara, whoever understands that will benefit from that. And that is the kindness of the Buddha. So the Buddha taught the Dharma, and the Dharma is love. And whoever has the Dharma, or in other words, whoever has love, is a Sangha. So if you hold on to such a begging bowl, it always reminds you, I must cultivate love. And the Dharma is love. And you should always analyze yourself, am I really a real Sangha or not? And if you find that I truly have great love for all sentient beings, then it is suitable for yourself to call yourself a Sangha. So we need to hold on to love and not allow the love that we have cultivated to decline, but we must further and further increase our love. And that is really the purpose of all Dharma practice, whether we meditate or we visualize a deity or we recite mantra, whatever practice we engage in is really for that purpose. And that was taught by the Buddha. So when I think of that, I feel that the Buddha's qualities are really inconceivable. And for example, if there are two friends in a mundane sense who love each other, and that is already so precious. And that is really what this prayer for excellent conduct is all about from the very beginning. In the beginning of this prayer, we are introduced to the qualities of bodhicitta. And then we learn how to hold on to bodhicitta, how to sort of gather or kind of keep bodhicitta dear to us. Or in other words, we are placing our wealth in the treasure houses of the Buddhas. And then until the end of the prayer, we learn about the aspirational bodhicitta, the engaging bodhicitta, the essence of the bodhisattva vow. And that is, understanding that and practicing that is just like adding our love to the great ocean of love of bodhicitta of all the Buddhas of the three times. For example, if you cultivate love and you take the bodhisattva vow, then you take a commitment, I will hold on to this for my entire life. And if you have such a strong commitment, you have what is called the power of your own intention. So there's three powers that cause your aspirations and intentions to be accomplished. And the first one is the power of your own intention. So that means you have understood the qualities of the Buddha and of the Dharma, and therefore you have given rise to love. If you give rise to love, then you connect to the second power, which is the power of the great compassion of all the Buddhas. Then your smaller love merges with the great love of all the Buddhas of the three times. The Buddhas who have accumulated merit throughout three endless aeons for the benefit of sentient beings. So you're merging your love with their great love. And if you do that, that leads to the third power, which is the power of the Dharma Dhatu. And on the level of the Dharma Dhatu, we are never separate from the Buddha. The Buddha himself said all beings are actually Buddhas. In samsara, we are like temporary ice blocks, but the ice will ultimately melt into water. And I myself fully trust in that. And there's no need to have any doubts about that at all, because the Buddha already said all beings are actually Buddhas. They are only obscured by adventitious stains. And these stains have temporarily created samsara, this world. So anyways, if you have such a bowl, then you will remember the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. And if you remember that, you remember to bring benefit and happiness to all sentient beings. And that is essentially the enlightened activity of all the Buddhas. It is also said that whatever is done in this world or in the field of knowable things is done by Buddha. So if you recollect the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha in this way, mental courage in your practice will arise within you. You will make an effort in giving rise to bodhicitta where it has not yet arisen. You will not allow it to decline where it has arisen, and you will further increase bodhicitta through such an aspiration prayer, for example. Or as it is said in the Three-Heap Sutra, if you just give a spoonful of food to an animal and so on. So you can see actually it is quite easily accomplished. It is not that difficult. So if you have the intention to attain enlightenment for the sake of all beings, you have added your wealth into the treasure house of all the Buddhas. For example, it is just like paying taxes. In America, we pay taxes. And when you pay your tax, you can think that may this benefit the country. Because the country is using the taxpayers' money to help their people. For example, if there are natural disasters like fires or floodings and so on, then the country uses that money to pay for that, to help with the repairs. So it is very beneficial. And even if you just pay $1 in taxes, you can think that may this benefit the country. So this is how the bodhisattvas benefit beings. Even though we may not officially call that the bodhisattva activity, it really is a bodhisattva activity if we see it in that way. And then ultimately, and this good intention becomes the cause of enlightenment. So we can practice it whether we practice the Dharma or engage in mundane activities. We need to understand the quality of bodhicitta and always hold on to it. Then there is no need to have any doubts. So if you have such a begging bowl, then you will always recollect the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha within yourself. And it will remind you of the quality of love and the need to benefit sentient beings. It will remind you of the faults of self-grasping. Just naturally. Therefore, if you have such a begging bowl, it is very beneficial for this reason. It reminds you of bodhicitta and this thought of, I will practice patience even at the cost of my life. And if you think in these ways, then naturally an inner courage will arise in your mind. And if you hold on to it, it will not decline. So this is why it is very beneficial to have such a begging bowl. And actually also His Eminence Drubang Rinpoche considered it very precious, and also the Drupan Dundrup pardon. He actually gave him my old bowl because he considered it as very precious. And so if I only think about the quality of this bowl alone, I remember everything. I remember the quality of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And anyone can use it and drink from it if you cultivate bodhicitta. And that is also why actually I encouraged disciples in Taiwan to produce this begging bowl. And I also told them that I don't want any of the profits, but they should just produce it and anyone can use it. Because if you use it, then you will remember these things. And so because of that, personally, I fully trust in its benefits. I have, because of that, when I just think about the benefits of the begging bowl, I develop a very firm trust, a conviction in bodhicitta.
Oh.